Books don't mix with water. A Percabeth alternate universe fanfiction, part 13. Are you gonna tell me where you're kidnapping me or not? Annabeth huffed. Someone needs a lesson in patience, Percy said with a grin and a sing-song voice. Also, you knew I was taking you somewhere. This is not kidnapping, he corrected her. She huffed and fell back against the seat, mumbling something about seaweed brains and idiots that needed to shut up. We're almost here, so don't you worry, the green-eyed boy said, turning the last right and then driving straight. Annabeth was very impatient to see the destination and scanned her eyes out the window. Perhaps if there was a runner outside, they'd see a car drive by with a girl with intense gray eyes staring down almost threateningly at them. It would be terrifying, and admittedly, they'd probably sprint ahead. Percy would not blame them. He would probably do the same thing. And here we are, Percy announced, coming up to the parking spot in an apartment complex. Annabeth was silent for a second before slowly turning to him. Are we at your house? Yep. I was not expecting that, she said blankly. Percy chuckled and turned off the car, opened his door, climbed out, and opened hers, like a gentleman. I could have gotten that, Annabeth snapped at him, but her smile right after said thank you loud and clear. Percy shrugged and shut the door behind her. It's only polite, he explained, leading her to his apartment. Up the stairs they went, 5 flights in fact. After all, his mother had gotten a couple books published, and they were able to afford the nicer apartments on the upper floors that weren't as terrible, small, or dirty. Wait, Annabeth said on the last flight of stairs. She stood still. She stood still and held on tight to the handrail. Percy worriedly went back to her. What's wrong? He asked. Annabeth rolled her eyes. Okay, dude, I'm fine. Don't be so worried. Your tone makes it seem like I'm going to die. No, I just feel like I'm gonna fall. And God knows I refuse to have an embarrassment like that after tonight and everything that happened, she said with the most "are you kidding me" type of voice. Percy chuckled. The limits of Annabeth's pride was as infinite as whatever that infinite hotel thing that she had been talking about one day, but Percy was confused, so he blanked her speech out. As a gentleman does, Percy scooped Annabeth up in his arms, bride style, getting a squeak from her and a glare from gray eyes. I was fine, she said, but Percy only shrugged and smirked. I'm saving you from embarrassment. Now look at me, I'm such a prince. And look, I'm carrying you princess style. It matches your hair. Well, when it's normal and curly, he said, going up the stairs with ease. Despite her height and the strength that he knew that she had, she was surprisingly light, or at least was for him. Percy was a swimmer after all, and pulling through the water every day seemed to do wonders to one's muscles. Annabeth snorted. You were anything but a prince, she said snarkily but fondly. They are way too proper for you. Also, I feel like a doll. Or a baby. I don't like it, she said, pouting at the end and honest to God looking adorable. Wow, I would never have guessed, Percy replied back with sarcasm. He was able to get the door unlocked with her still in his arms, which honestly surprised him as well. Welcome to my humble home, he announced with a grin. Annabeth scanned her eyes around and nodded. It's cute, she said, looking up at Percy. He smiled back at her. Truly, her smile, it was infectious. Hello, you two. Am I interrupting something? Percy nearly dropped Annabeth in sheer panic. Snapping his head up, his green eyes registered his mother smirking from the doorway of the kitchen. With a blush and pleading lip to not embarrass him too much, Percy let Annabeth down and she smoothed herself. She smoothed herself down, unbothered and calm, unlike him. Mom, this is Annabeth, my friend, Percy said, slightly nervous. He pointed back and forth a little bit frantically. And Annabeth, meet my mom. Annabeth smiled at Sally. Hi, Mrs. Jackson. Nice to meet you, she said with a hand extended. Sally pushed past that and wrapped her into a hug that mildly surprised the blonde. Oh, please, call me Sally, his mother said warmly. Annabeth nodded. So, was I interrupting something? Because it is rare I see my son walk through the doors with the girl in his arms late at night, his mother said teasingly. Percy's face went red and he facepalmed. She was wearing heels, and they were hurting. I was just being polite, Percy scrambled to explain. His mother gave him a knowing look. Of course you were, she said. Now, go to the kitchen and grab some water and cookies for our guest. Percy immediately followed the orders and got out of the living room fast. His face was rather red, so he splashed some cold water on it to, calm it down. Hopefully. Percy could hear Annabeth and his mom conversating. About what, though? He had no idea. The topic seemed to float around. Percy thought he had heard his own name once or twice, followed by Luke's. Locating the cookies, he then grabbed a glass and filled it up with ice water. Percy brought them out to the living room that was now only occupied by his mother. Don't tell me you scared her off, he said in a playful tone. Setting down the plate and glass, Sally mocked offense. And scare away my son's future girlfriend? God, no, she retorted back, giggling at his reddened face again. We're not gonna date, he muttered. His mother laughed and ruffled his hair just as she did when he was a young boy. It doesn't mean you don't want to. I am your mother. I can see it in your eyes. And evidently hers too. Percy covered his face with a pillow as his just lovely mother laughed. It's okay with you that I wear this, right, Percy? Annabeth said with a surprisingly shy and nervous voice from behind. Percy lifted his head and turned around to see what she was talking about, and nearly fainted. His mother must have given her his clothes to change into for that night because she was no longer in her dress, but in his old swim hoodie from last year and black sweatpants that were way too loose for her. If Percy had said that she looked adorable, that would have been an understatement. It was taking an insane amount of self-control to not just jump up and kiss her senseless. Oh, yeah, it's fine, Percy said, trying to bring down the heat from his cheeks. Annabeth looked skeptical but walked over and sat down on the couch to stare confusingly at a plate of cookies. They're blue, she said in a very what the heck type of voice. Percy laughed a bit. Not poisoned, I swear. No, I used to know this guy, and he thought that blue food didn't exist. So to prove him wrong, my mother made everything in the house blue if she could. The pasta, the cookies, the soda, everything. Just as an act of defiance, Percy explained. Annabeth smiled at him and picked one up, deciding to trust him on the deadly levels that may or may not be in them. She looked over at his mom, who was doing something in the kitchen, and smiled in a subdued but gentle way. Your mom is feisty, she commented. Percy let out a laugh. Yeah, that's an understatement. My mom has an iron will. And is the best person in the world, he said proudly. Annabeth raised a brow at him. Mama's boy? She asked. Percy nodded. I'm surprised that you say it so proudly. Should I be embarrassed or something? No. It's actually quite refreshing to see that you're not. They smiled at each other for a minute or so before Percy realized that they could just smile dopely at each other all night. Want to watch a movie? Percy asked. Annabeth nodded. What do you have to watch? She asked. He got up to go look at the movie console and searched around. Harry Potter? He asked, holding up the CD. Annabeth smiled widely and pretended to swish a wand. Acro, Harry Potter movie, she said jokingly. Grabbing 2 blankets, he tossed one her way and laid up the other one over himself. Percy snuggled into the couch, making sure to leave room between him and Annabeth, as to not make her uncomfortable. Well, you see, I think I watched this movie too much, Annabeth muttered. Percy laughed a bit, and Annabeth smiled back at him. Eventually, though, Percy realized that she was not kidding, for Annabeth could say almost word for word and speak every line. Stop, stop, stop. You're going to take someone's eye out, Annabeth said, whacking Percy in the face with a pillow. You are going to take my head out, Percy said, face full of pillow. Annabeth laughed and poked his side with her foot. The black-haired boy retaliated by snatching her hair tie from her hair, making her blonde locks fall down and around her face. Okay, seriously? She said, trying to sound annoyed, but she was smiling widely. Clearly, she wasn't used to the length of her hair when it was straight. Percy admired it for a second. Yeah, it was pretty, but he much rather preferred her curly hair. Throughout the movie, Percy had to admit that he didn't really watch it. More so, he was busy annoying Annabeth, with throwing pillows at her and dodging them back, kicking her in the side and then trying to move his legs out from where she could hit them. There was no time to actually watch a movie that they'd both seen multiple times before. Eventually, they grew tired, and the air changed from loud laughter to quiet breathing with the audio of the movie. Annabeth yawned, and adorably so, and leaned her head dangerously close to his shoulder. You know, this actually turned out to be a fun night. Much better than the dance. Thank you, Percy, she said in a soft voice. Percy's breath caught somewhere between his throat and lungs. The way she was smiling at him was so soft and rare and beautiful. Anytime. Anytime, so as long as he got to see her smile like that.